Hello everyone. In this video, I'm going to go ahead and model out this treasure chest using just this single image. So over in Maya, create free image plane. I'm going to open up the dialog box and I'm going to plug in this image. I'm going to go ahead and use my 2-panel window right over here on the left. And the one on the left, I want the front. The one on the right, I want perspective. And I'm just going to go ahead and create a default cube. Go ahead and push this image plane back a little bit. Doesn't actually matter how far I go. Then I'm just going to add this to a brand new display layer, hit the second button twice, and now I can no longer select it. Back over on the cube, I'm going to go ahead and zoom in on this side. And since this image is in perspective, I'm not going to get it perfect, but my goal is to try and get this close enough. So I'm going to start looking at this side profile. I'm actually looking at this edge right here. Looks like about there. And then something I can do, I can go ahead and rotate this cube just a little bit. And then this is me just trying to figure out the overall width. Again, this is a perspective image, so I'm not going to get it perfect, but I think I'll get it pretty close. And the overall goal here is, since I rotated this cube to try and match this perspective angle, I'm looking at both the depth of the cube in this direction and the depth of the cube in this direction. I think something like that actually looks pretty good. And go ahead and rotate this all the way in 90 degrees. And I'm going to go ahead and delete history and freeze transforms. Now I have my cube in the rough dimensions of this treasure chest. Next step, I'm going to go ahead and just lower this. For now, it doesn't really matter if I have some transforms on this. I can always zero this out and get it back to origin. I'm going to go ahead and select this top plane right here. And what I think I want to do is I'm going to line up to this edge of this metal and then extrude up just to line up to the next one. I'm going to extrude up once more to line up to the next one. And from here, I can start shaping the top just a little bit. I think I'll come up once more. Still just trying to get that overall curve. And I think I'll do an insert edge loop by shift right clicking, insert edge loop, do a multiple edge loop cut, insert one, and just click right there to have an edge perfectly in the middle. And I'll grab this edge like so. And I'm just trying to shape this overall top piece. There we are. I think that looks pretty good. Now, the overall thought process of modeling this treasure chest is I actually want to separate the geometry based on how it is made in real life. So if you take a look at this treasure chest right here, notice how this piece of metal is a separate piece. This one's separate. The one on top is separate. This one that wraps all the way around is separate. And then since this chest can open, there's actually a seam going down the middle. And all these pieces of metal, they're all separate pieces of metal that are then bolted together into this wood. So I'm going to go ahead and replicate that exact thought process. I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this piece that I have right here. So I'm going to select it, Shift D. This first one, I'm just going to call it wood, and I'm going to hit Control H right now to hide it. That way I can come back to it, and that'll be what I use for the wood. This next piece, I'm going to go ahead and use it as the metal. And as I said previously, I'm going to go ahead and start separating this metal into individual pieces. So I'm looking at this side right here. I'm going to go ahead and get the width of this side piece like so. And then I'm going to go ahead and just separate this metal first. So grabbing these 3 rings, which are going to represent the 3 different rings of metal wrapping around that direction, and just shift right click, do an extract. Now notice if I come over here under this metal group, I have this larger ring at the top, the ring at the bottom, and the rest of the metal. I can go ahead and select all this, hit Shift P to get it out of the group, and I'm just going to delete that group for now. And if I rotate the camera, notice I have these faces down here. For now, I'm just going to delete those and then grab this piece of metal right here. Since this is where the 2 pieces connect to actually open, close, I'm going to go ahead and separate these as well. So I'm grabbing this whole face loop, do and extract faces. And now notice how I have an additional piece right here. So to stay organized, I can go ahead and just call this ring 1, name this ring 2, and the last one ring 3. Next step is I'm going to start adding the rings that wrap vertically. So shift right click, I'm going to add the insert edge loop tool again, come here to multiple edge loops, and then this time I'm going to change it to 2. That way when I click on the top like so, I'm going to add those 2 edge loops, which will be for these pieces right there, and I'll add it on the front and the back. Now a quick way to make these edges have some thickness, can go ahead and select all these edges, grab the back as well. I'm going to shift right click and use the bevel tool. And in this case, let's go ahead and do an edit, reset settings, and let's just try with default settings what I get. So that gets really close. I just need to make this fraction a bit smaller. So maybe 0.2. I'll try 0.1. That looks pretty good. All right, next up, I'm going to go ahead and do the pieces that wrap around the edge. So I can actually do the same exact thing with a bevel. I'm going to go ahead and grab all of these corners. Then I'm going to grab these top ones as well. Do it on both sides. Now, bevel, I'm going to go ahead and reset settings really quick. And what I want to change is I actually want to uncheck this chamfer. So notice what happens when I hit apply. It no longer rounds off the edge, but it still gives that edge loop that I want in both directions. And from here, I can actually start selecting the faces that I no longer need. So I'm just going to go into X-ray mode really quick. And all of these faces I can get rid of these, get rid of that. And now if we compare the two, notice how we have the same geometry that represents all the metal. Now, just to clean up the edge loops a little bit, there are a few I don't need. So notice this edge and this edge right there can come up here to edit mesh, delete edge vertex, and I can actually do the same on this one and this one. Something else I want to go ahead and do, I'm going to change to vertex mode, and I'm actually going to grab all of these verts, I'm going to drag them down, and then I'm just sort of guessing on what the bottom of the treasure chest looks like, but I'm going to assume that these pieces connect in the middle. I'm going to use the append to polygon and just connect these like so. And then me guessing again, I'm just going to grab these edge loops like so. I'm going to extrude, and I'm just going to extrude these in a bit. Now I'm going to grab all this geometry, delete history, and freeze transforms. Next up, I'm going to grab all of these faces, and I'm just going to extrude them out. So extrude, and let's try like 0.1. I think that looks pretty good. Then I'll grab this bottom, do the same exact thing, extrude the faces. This time I can try 0.2, just so that this piece is a little bit thicker. I can do the same exact for this one right here. Extrude face, try 0.2, and I'll grab these and also do a 0.2. Now, if I grab this wood geometry that I hid earlier with a Shift H, notice how now I have my complete treasure chest. Now from here, I want to continue to start cleaning some of this up. So notice how some of this geometry is pointing upwards. Just going to grab some of these verts, and I'm just going to snap them down. Do the same right there. And then notice how this piece is doing the same thing. In this case, I think it'll be easier to go to this camera. And it's the points right here and the points right there. Just going to snap them straight down. All right, so this works pretty well as a low poly treasure chest, but I want to go ahead and start beveling some of these edges. That way I can hit 3 on it and make it nice and smooth on the corners. So I'm going to start on this piece. This particular piece, I can actually select every single edge, shift right click to bevel. I'm going to go ahead and do an edit, reset settings. And in this case, I do want 2 segments. And I'm just going to guess here. I'm going to try 0.25 and always change this. Doesn't work. So this bevel's a bit too tight. So let's try back to 0.5. And that actually does look pretty good. Notice how I can hit 3 on it and it gives me these nice soft edges. And now I can just start repeating this on all of this other geometry. I'm going to grab all of these. I'll start off with the bottom side because all of these edges I can just select, do a bevel. I think I need to continue with this 0.5. I can go ahead and grab both of these pieces, grab all the edges, do the same exact thing. I'm going to go ahead and change this 0.5. And these last ones on top. Now I can go ahead and select all of them like so, but then I do need to deselect these edge loops that are running along the length, because these I do not want to be beveled. That way I get a nice round treasure chest. So shift right click, bevel. This case looks like I need to bring up this number a little bit higher. Now notice what's happening right here is on these edges, they're actually kind of collapsing in on each other. So I'm going to Control Z, and looks like it's because this geometry starts getting really thin. So I'm going to go ahead and fix that really quick. Just going to grab these points and I'll just scale them in a bit. That way I get to be a bit thicker. So now when I go to bevel, I should no longer have that issue. So looks like a fraction of 1. Looks pretty good. So notice how I can select all of the metal geometry. I can hit 3 and this metal gets really smooth. And same thing for the chest. Now I do want to go ahead and make this to where it can open. So I'm going to go ahead and select the entire top side, which are these pieces of the wood like so. I'm just going to extract. So there's the top, there's the bottom. Just like before, I don't actually need this edge loop anymore now that it is disconnected. So mesh tool, delete edge vertex, can even get rid of that one. And this bottom side, I can bevel just like before. Let's try 0.1 or 0.05. And I can bevel the top. The top, I only need this curved edge on both sides. 0.05. Now, when I select this whole thing and hit 3, notice how I get these nice smooth edges where I want. Now to continue adding a little bit more detail, notice how there are a handful of bolts all over. So create polygon primitive sphere. I'm going to go ahead and make this sphere 8 and 8 on the subdivisions. Go ahead and rotate this by 90 degrees. And I just need to start positioning where I want this. Well, let's scale it to the proper scale. Think something like that. Push it in a bit. Now these back faces I don't actually need. So everything from the middle out, just going to select those and delete them. And then I'm going to go ahead and grab these inside edges, do a small extrude, just bring them in a little bit. That way when you hit 3 on it, notice how it just gives you that slight bit of roundness to it. And I can just start duplicating with Shift D. Duplicate these straight up. Got some smaller ones, like so. Got some on the sides. All right, so before I mirror this over, I do want to make sure this treasure chest is perfectly centered. And what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm actually going to select the wood geometry. I'm going to do an insert edge loop. I'm adding an edge loop right here because this is going to be the center point of my treasure chest. Now, when I select all this geometry, I'm going to hit Control G to group it and go ahead and move the pivot of this right like so. So now the pivot is at the bottom in the center. And when I come up here to absolute transform, I'm going to select right here in X, hit enter, and it's going to go ahead and snap this to origin. Notice how it has all of these transforms. I'm going to go ahead and delete history, freeze transforms. Now I'm going to go ahead and select all these bolts and start off with the side first. Mesh. Open up the dialog box. I'm going to do an edit, reset settings, and I want to make sure I turn off cut geometry. Then when I hit apply, I'm going to mirror over. I can do the same exact thing for the front. In this case, I'm going to mirror it to Z, hit apply. Now, if I select all this, hit 3, I'm going to turn off wireframe and deselect it. And the last bit, I'm going to go ahead and make this little handle. So I'm going to create a default cube. So I'm going to create a default cube, translate this over. Going to position it about where the handle should go. First, I'm starting off with the back plate. Now looking at the reference, it actually is a bit round on the edges. So I'm going to just grab this front and back face and go ahead and extrude these and extrude them out and in just to try and get that slight round look to it. I think I'll do it once more. And now I can go ahead and bevel these edges. So a quick way to get something like this, if I go into face mode, I'm going to select this entire face loop that wraps around, going to control right click to edge perimeter. And from here, I can bevel these edges. Now notice when I hit 3, giving me this nice round corner. Next up is the handle. So I'm going to use the curve tool, come up here to create curve tools, CV curve tool. And what I want to start doing is clicking, and you're going to see these points show up. And then once you get the fourth one, you're going to see an actual curve. And I'm actually trying to do the same amount of points on each side. I don't need to make it perfect. Come over here and translate this curve just like so. And I'm going to use the sweep tool. So with the curve selected, create sweep tool. Looks like a mess right now. This is just because of the scale. So right now it's set to 1. Let's try 0.2, maybe 0.1. And then it just needs more precision. So as soon as I start increasing this, notice how it fills out that curve really well. So I think I'll try 95, turn on optimize. And with this curve, you can always make adjustments after the fact. So with that curve selected, if I right click off of the geometry and just select control vertex, I can still come back here, grab these points and make some adjustments. Once you're happy with this geometry, you can delete history on it. And I go ahead and grab these faces. I'm going to grab this first edge loop, extrude edge, then come up here to merge to center, just seal this off. Do the same exact thing over here. Grab these edges, extrude, merge to center, seal that off. And I'm just going to go ahead and extrude both of these faces one more time. And do one more extrude. And I'm just trying to give this light, round look to it. So something like that. I hit 3. Notice how I have that slight curve. And I can grab this geometry. And just like before, mesh, open up the mirror dialog box. I want to make sure this is set back to X. Hit apply. And there we have it.